In this video, I wanted to go through something that I call the push. It's one of the 6 core components of successful offers, which I call the 6 Ps. But push is arguably one of the simplest and most powerful things that you could do today to kind of get more people to buy your stuff, basically, and to do so with less struggle. So that's what I wanted to go through quickly, what it is, why it's so important, and a little bit on how to use it. But before we get into that, hi, my name's Danny. I'm a writer and a content creator. I've been doing this for over 8 years at this point. I grew my last content business to 6 figures. I was getting millions of views a month, making 5-figure months. But then at the end of 2023, it all kind of came crashing down. That was to do with an algorithm update and a shadow ban, but mainly because of key mistakes that I'd made when building that business. So now I'm trying to rebuild basically by sharing everything I have learned that I think might help other creators, including stuff I've learned over the last 2 years since the business died, where I've been doing a really big deep dive into how to build a simple and efficient and robust business as a creator. I hope you find this valuable. I really appreciate you being here. And with that said, let's get into the push. In my early 20s, I lived in East London and worked in a bar called the Coburn Arms. And like most traditional pubs in the UK, there is a bell above the bar. And about half an hour before closing, you would ring that bell and shout last orders to let people know it was their last chance to get a drink before you closed for the night. And inevitably, once you rang that bell, people would rush to the bar to get another drink or another 2 drinks. And that, in a nutshell, is a push. You are giving people a clear incentive to buy now by letting them know there are consequences to not acting. By ringing that bell, A, we got people's attention. There was no ignoring it. But B, it was a clear message that, this is your last chance to get a drink before we take it away. As people, as humans, A, decision making is hard, but B, unless there's a clear incentive to do something now, we'll often just not do it. We'll postpone the decision. We'll just continue with what we're doing, even regardless of how much pain we're in sometimes. So without a clear reason to move, what tends to happen is that we kind of just don't. We'll park it, we'll say now's not the right time, and we'll just get on with our life. In the same way that until we'd rung that bell behind the bar, people were happily sat at their table. Only by ringing that bell and telling them what they wanted was going to go away did they realize that they wanted another drink and came to buy one. This kind of speaks to the power of FOMO. Humans are naturally loss averse. We hate the thought of something being taken away from us, especially when it's something that we really want. So when it comes to offer making, the way I learn this is that doing something similar by applying a push, it's one of the most ethical ways to compel them to act now instead of just deciding not to make any decision, because they realize that if they don't act, then they're going to have something taken away from them. Something that they want will be taken away. So the 2 ways that you can do this, the 2 kind of core categories under the wider umbrella of a push, are scarcity and urgency. Scarcity basically means there's limited availability. Urgency essentially equates to a deadline, but either way, there is a consequence to deciding not to act. On the scarcity side, the spot that could be yours may be taken. On the urgency side, the deadline side, this thing isn't here forever, so if you don't act now, you may lose out. So another thing to think about scarcity, why this works. When you think about the things that are most valuable, the things that seem most valuable, that have most value, they're always scarce, they're in short supply. It's just supply and demand. Where there is significant supply, demand goes down. When there is low supply, demand goes up. And so that's essentially what we're doing here by applying scarcity into our offers, by incorporating this half of the push. You're purposefully lowering your supply to make something more scarce, and in the process, increase the demand just naturally. It's kind of an unavoidable consequence. People interpret it as more valuable because now it is suddenly in short supply. And so you want it, but you also know it can be taken away from you if you don't act. So I really encourage anyone who hasn't already assigned any sort of scarcity or urgency to their offers, haven't assigned any consequence to not acting, to do so. Don't assume that the outcome that you're offering is appealing enough to draw people to it. In general, motivation works in 2 directions. There's the carrot, the thing that we want, the thing we're drawn to. And then there's the stick, there's the consequence that we are scared of happening that pushes us towards it. So the push is exactly that. It's the fear of missing out that compels us to move towards the thing that is appealing. So without it, you find that the offer is never going to be as successful. And with it, you will find that that changes. Another useful thing to point out about the scarcity and urgency, scarcity is kind of for us as much as anything else by limiting our availability, whether that's in terms of the number of people you can work with, the number of things you can sell. If you create a clear reason to act, but in the process, you protect your own energy, you protect your own ability to apply yourself to the people who do join and to exert the effort and energy required to get them results. So it's protective for you, the creator or the coach, the consultant, as much as it is an incentive for the people you want to work with to act. So on the urgency side, the deadline side, that's more for them. So scarcity is for you, urgency is for them. Urgency is like, give people a reason to act now. We're offering something of value, something that can help them. We're acknowledging that people are less likely to move until there's a clear reason to do so. It reminds me of having like an exam to prepare for. You can delay until the night before. Then suddenly you have this mad level of motivation to cram for that exam because tomorrow is the deadline. It creates that compulsion to do the thing that you'd been putting off prior to that. But ultimately, you end up with the push, whether you incorporate one or both, preferably both. You can significantly increase the likelihood of getting the yes. So hopefully that's been a useful reminder or a useful new piece of information if you hadn't come across it before. But either way, I hope you can take it, apply it, and use it to help more people, attract more clients, and make more sales, again, with less effort. So if you don't already have an offer, but you're crafting one or would like to, or you already have an offer and it's underperforming, click the link in the description. It goes to something called the 10-minute offer unlock, which is just a really simple self-diagnostic tool. It takes 5 to 10 minutes. You can fill it out to get a visual depiction of how your offer kind of holds up against these 6 Ps, including the push, and thereby spot if there are any areas of potential improvement, any missed opportunities, or any potential holes that you haven't spotted yet. So click the link, check it out, and I hope you get some value from that too. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.